Hi, my friends. Welcome back. We're going to keep reading Leon and the Spitting Image by Alan Kurzweil. Remember, I don't own the copyright to this book. I'm just reading it out loud to you guys, my students, for educational purposes. So the last time we read, the kids had decided to follow Miss Hagmeyer, and they found some sort of business called SOV, which stands for Stitches of Virtue. And that must be where she dropped off the animals, they figured. So we're going to pick back up with Chapter 23, Plan B. P.W. lived in a 5-story walk-up that housed his family's Thai restaurant on the ground floor and their apartment at the top. The restaurant was a cozy mom-and-pop operation called the Curried Elephant. It smelled of spices and orange peels and offered 14 different kinds of curry, though none contained actual elephant. "What took you so long?" said Ms. Dabandana, glancing up from a napkin she was folding into the shape of a tulip. "We were doing something with Miss H," P.W. told his mother. She gave him a suspicious look, but before she could ask another question, P.W. said, "We're going upstairs." Once inside the apartment, he guided Lily Matisse and Leon straight to his bedroom. "So, what's this thing you want to show us?" Leon asked. "Close my door," said P.W. As Leon shut the door, P.W. cleared a path through the action figures, trading cards, and game cartridges scattered all over the floor. He disappeared under his bed. Moments later, dirty clothes, t-shirts and socks mostly, started flying into the middle of the room. "I had to hide this," P.W. called out between flings. "My sister is always messing with my stuff." Eventually, he re-emerged, legs first, grasping an object draped in a towel. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "your attention, please." "Can we get on with it?" Lily Matisse said impatiently. "Fine," said P.W. "Without further ado, I give you," he whipped off the towel, "Plan B." "The Hagapult!" Leon cried, his eyes widening at the sight of the actual Lego and rubber band contraption proposed in sketch form the day of the food fight. "Care to do the honors?" P.W. asked. "That's a Roger," Leon said eagerly. He clamped the ankles and wrists of the masterpiece into the adjustable cuffs of the machine's launching arm. "Fits perfectly," he said. "Let's test her out." "As soon as I recalibrate the counterweight," said P.W. "Is all this really necessary?" said Lily Matisse. "I still don't understand why you need a gizmo to get the hag to fling stuff." "I told you before," said P.W. "This is way cooler. Plus, it gives Leon pinpoint accuracy." He began filling a small crate at the front of the device with pennies. "Why the coins?" Leon asked. "It prevents tipping when we're in launch mode," P.W. explained. "You guys are totally nuts," Lily Matisse exclaimed, retreating to the bag. "What are you two planning to do when the hag catapults Leon's doll into the finished bin?" "What are you talking about?" said Leon. "I'm talking about final inspection," Lily Matisse said. "You do remember it's this Monday, right? How are you going to use that gizmo if the most important part, the doll, gets tossed into a garbage bag and taken to that warehouse where we should have turned left?" "Can you give it a rest?" P.W. said angrily. He cocked the launching arm so that the doll bowed backward, head over heels. "Leon has all the ammunition he needs to take care of the hag. Speaking of which," P.W. got up off the floor. "Where are you going?" Leon asked. "To get the ammo," he said. "I left it in the kitchen." The moment P.W. left the bedroom, Lily Matisse turned to Leon. "You're sure this is a good idea?" "Why are you so worried?" "I just told you, final inspection is coming up. Plus there's bird whistle we've got to think about. What if she sees that thingy?" "It's not a thingy, it's a trebuchet," said P.W., returning from the kitchen in time to catch the tail end of the warning. "And when did you get a brain swap with Antoinette?" Lily Matisse persisted. "All I'm saying is, strapping Miss Hagmeyer into a harness is risky." "No, it's not," said P.W., "not if it's properly loaded. I'll show you." He dumped a collection of small objects on the bedroom carpet. "We've got Legos in 2, 4, and 6-notch varieties. We've got one of my dad's famous spring rolls and a fried dumpling. I stuck with the fried because they don't fall apart like the steamed ones." Lily Matisse picked up a small plastic doll's head by its long, golden blonde hair. "What are you planning to do with this?" she asked. "What do you think?" said P.W. "You want to use the head of a totally hair Barbie for a cannonball?" "Why not?" P.W. said matter-of-factly. "Where's the rest of her?" Leon asked. "In my sister's room," said P.W. "Don't you think she'll miss this?" Lily Matisse asked, jiggling the head. "I'm planning to reattach it as soon as we're done," P.W. said. Lily Matisse watched in disbelief as P.W. snatched the decapitated head out of her hand and squeezed it into the sling of the Hagapult. "Lock and load," he said. Unfortunately, each time P.W. tried launching the head, its hair got tangled in the mechanism. He switched to the fried dumpling, then the spring roll, then the Legos. None of those projectiles worked very well either. After a dozen misfires, P.W. started scrounging about for substitute ammo. He tried slinging a plastic cow, they used cows in the Middle Ages, a paperclip, and a gumball. The results were uniformly dismal. Lily Matisse grew tired of watching his failures from the sidelines. "Here," she said in a ho-hum way. "Try this." She held out something small and shiny. P.W. went over to the bed and bobbed the proposed missile in his hand. The weight and size felt promising. "You know," he said, "this might actually work." Thanks. Despite herself, Lily Matisse smiled. What is it? Leon asked from across the room. A glass eyeball, said PW. I was going to use it on my masterpiece, said Lily Matisse, but it didn't look right. I should have returned it, but I kind of forgot. Accidentally on purpose. I'm glad you forgot. Accidentally on purpose, said PW. What is it? Mountain lion? Close, said Lily Matisse. Lynx. PW fitted the cat eye into the sling and reset the arm. He then cranked the doll backward until it was almost upside down. The tiny Victorian boots pointed in the air. The wig of black yarn brushed against the green Lego base plate that kept the mechanism stable. PW was about to fire off the eyeball when Leon gave him a nudge. He understood immediately. Hey, Lily Matisse, PW called over. Want to do the honors? Are you sure? She said. Definitely, said PW. She joined her friends on the floor. PW explained how the hagapult worked, then brought his hand over hers to show her how to release the trigger. When you're ready, let her rip, he said, removing his hand. Lily Matisse hesitated. Go for it, Leon urged. That's a Roger, she said nervously. She launched the lynx eye. Thoosh! The sling hurled the glass eyeball with such force it landed in the fish tank on the far side of the room. Plink! Yes! PW shouted. Oh my gosh, Lily Matisse cried. Geez, Leon exclaimed. A buzzer sounded. PW groaned. Ugh, it must be my mom. He went over to an intercom and pressed the button that said talk. Yeah? Popcorn Walnut, do you copy? Over. What is it, Mom? PW said. We're kind of busy. Leon's mother's on the phone. She wants him back home. Do you copy? Over. Leon joined PW at the intercom. He pushed talk and said, Ms. D, can you ask my mom if I can stay another hour? There was a long pause. That's a negative. She wants me to put you in a cab right now. Do you copy? Over. Leon again pushed talk. Ms. D, can you ask her what's so urgent? After another long pause, Ms. Dabandana said, something about an envelope from school. Do you copy? Over. Leon's legs turned wobbly. His head began to throb. An envelope from school. The news hit him with the force of a lumpkin sidewinder. I bet you it's about the pop-ups, said Lily Matisse. Birdwhistle must have spotted us from her window. Don't jump to conclusions, said PW with a smirk. Don't try to be funny, said Leon. Not now. Hey, relax, said PW. I'm just saying that if Birdwhistle did see us doing something, why didn't she haul us into the birdcage along with the hag? Because that's not how the school does things, said Leon. Trust me, I know. They keep all the really bad stuff for the envelopes. He uncuffed his masterpiece from the hagapult and returned it to the pouch. Then he dragged himself down to the curried elephant. Passing through a field of tulips folded from napkins, Leon said goodbye to Ms. Dabandana and hailed a taxi back to the hotel. Chapter 24. Another envelope. Leon's 9 4/4 day was plummeting fast. 9, 8, 7. He was so worried about the envelope on the ride home, he didn't even think about his taxi driver collection. The cabbie could have been from Akron, Anaheim, or Antarctica. Leon would never know. He tried to convince himself the envelope was just a harmless reminder about the upcoming carnival. Only 2 days earlier, Principal Birdwhistle had mailed out a memo on the mandatory bluntness of swords, but that seemed unlikely. His mom wouldn't have called PW's house unless the news from school was major. Emma Ziesel was pacing back and forth when a taxi pulled up to the hotel. She had the dreaded envelope clutched tight against her chest. Leon stepped out of the taxi and instantly had his worst fears confirmed. The envelope was an exact clone of the one that had torpedoed him the night before school started. It was identical, right down to the blood-red stamp that said, confidential. Mom, we'll discuss it in the coffee shop, she said. Frau Haffenraffer and Maria were seated at the counter as Emma Ziesel guided her son to their usual booth. Napoleon was standing beside them. What are you doing here? Leon asked his friend. Your mother wished me to come, Monsieur Leon, Napoleon said as he scooched into the booth beside Emma Ziesel. Leon couldn't make heads or tails of the situation. All he could do was stare at the envelope, which now rested accusingly on the tabletop. I've never burdened you with reports from school before, Emma Ziesel told her son. Teachers can be terrible judges of character, always blowing things out of proportion, but, well, this is different. She pressed her fingernail against the edge of the envelope and gave it a flick. The envelope sailed across the table and poked Leon in the ribs like a needle. Could you read the letter out loud, sweetie? I want everyone to hear. Fine, said Leon bitterly. He grabbed the envelope and fumbled with the flap. Was this about getting flunked, or was Lily Matisse right? Had Birdwhistle seen him performing doll work? If Birdwhistle had seen him, would he be expelled? Which is worse, Leon asked himself, getting left back or getting booted? Sweetie? Leon removed the single sheet of paper from the envelope. As he squinched and clucked, he read the letter out loud. The classical school, where nimble fingers make for nimble minds. Office of the principal. Dear Ms. Ziesel, when we met in my office last fall, I promised I would touch base later in the school year. At the time, there were concerns expressed about Leon's manual dexterity, and it was proposed we consider allowing him to repeat 4th grade. Leon stopped reading. They were allowing him to repeat fourth grade? That's like saying they were allowing him to stick sewing needles under his fingernails. Leon, said Emma Ziesel. He continued in an unsteady voice. Since our meeting, I have monitored Leon's work. I am pleased to report that nearly all of his teachers note remarkable improvement in his fine motor skills. Only Miss Hagmeyer has yet to get back in touch with me. The poor woman has been under a bit of stress recently. However, I have every confidence she will concur with her colleagues. In the meantime, I thought you should know that all indicators point to your son satisfying the requirements of fourth grade. Cordially, Hortensia Birdwhistle, Principal. Emma Ziesel reached over the tabletop and gave Leon a peck on the cheek. Chapeau! Exclaimed Napoleon, which is how French speakers say, hats off. Mazel tov, said Frau Haffenraffer. Felicitaciones, added Maria. The letter gave Leon some much-needed relief about his teacher, and it was clear Birdwhistle hadn't spotted him, which meant that the secret of the masterpiece was still safe. Emma Ziesel signaled Frau Haffenraffer, who took her cue and disappeared into the kitchen. A minute later, she burst back into the coffee shop carrying a very large platter. Emma Ziesel said, the Chip of the Month Club made a delivery today, sweetie. When I saw that shipment of chips and read the letter from school, well, I put 2 and 2 together and decided it equaled surprise party. Leon beamed. It was turning into a 9 3/4 day after all. He gorged on pastries, potato chips, and praise for nearly an hour before an old concern crept into his thoughts. Emma Ziesel picked up on her son's agitation almost before he did. You okay? She asked him. I guess, said Leon. What's the matter? Leon sighed. I still have to pass final inspection. You will, said Emma Ziesel confidently. You don't know the hag. She could still pull a fast one. Don't be silly, dear. What did she say about your masterpiece? Nothing. I never showed it to her. Why not? It's just that a lot's been going on, Leon said vaguely. Well, I'm sure when she gets a load of your masterpiece, she'll flip. We'll see on Monday, said Leon, wondering briefly if he could make his teacher do a somersault. Do you have the doll with you? His mom asked. Leon nodded. Well, show it to everyone. See what they have to say. Leon unpouched the masterpiece and propped it on a bag of Hunky Dory's buffalo flavor thick and crunchy potato chips. Emma Ziesel glowed with motherly pride as Frau Haffenraffer, Maria, and Napoleon oohed and awed. Maria poked the stain on the doll's dress. You want me to take care of that, Leonito? That's okay, said Leon. It's no problem. I've got this special solution. It works like magic. It's okay, Maria. Thanks anyway. Stain or no stain, said Emma Ziesel, when the hag comes face to face with that doll, she's going to go head over heels. I hope you're right, said Leon. Emma Ziesel picked up a glass of soda and held it in the air. A toast, she declared, to the masterpieces we make. She tipped her glass at the doll pillowed on the Hunky Dories, and to the masterpiece we're raising. She redirected the glass at her son. May they both give us joy forever. Leon turned red. Thanks, Mom, but I'm not sure about my masterpiece giving us joy forever. Why not? Well, let's say it does pass final inspection. Which it will, said Emma Ziesel. Fine, said Leon. I still don't get to keep it. Nonsense, Emma Ziesel said. Miss Hagmeyer can't... Mom, listen to me, Leon interrupted. I know, for a fact, once the hag okays an animile, it gets binned, bagged, and sold. So, we will have to pick up tomorrow to see what happens next. See you guys then. Bye.